Hello, welcome back to my channel. This is Joe Bren, yours truly. Welcome to my channel. This is the Free Mind. Okay, so for today's, I will be discussing to you our last discussion for understanding the self, and that is less stress, more care. Okay, so let's do self care. So for today's, we will be talking about stress. How do we handle stress? How can we cope up with stress? As we all know that stress is inevitable to life, it is an experience we all share. Okay, so damay-damay na ni di bitaw, we all experience stress. It's all about how we manage and cope up with that kind of stress that we have. Okay, so let's talk about stress. So stress is described as the feeling of being overwhelmed, worried, or run down. Kanibang napuno na ka. Okay, so according to my research, stress is not is not simply one change, ma-stress na ka. Na-stress ka because it is a sum of the changes that you experience. That's why you experience stress. Okay, so stress can affect people like us. Ako, ikaw, we are all affected with stress. And stress can affect our physical and psychological health. It can affect us as a person, it can affect our behavior. Okay, but take note, there is a positive effect of stress. Sometimes we need to experience stress, but too much or extreme amount of stress is not a good thing for us. We need stress because when we are stressed, we are pushing ourselves to do better, especially if you know how to handle your stress. That's why we have the so-called the positive stress and the negative stress. Stress can sometimes be beneficial sa atua. It's good to experience and an amount of stress. But at the same time, too much of it can also cause us a lot of psychological or health issues. Okay, so for today is I will be sharing to you how can we cope up with stress, how can we manage with our individual stress, kay kita man tanan naaani. Okay, so anong makabantay man ka nga ang uban, although they have problems, they are stressed out, but still they know how to smile. Ganun na may uban nga, pareha mong problema, but they know how to still do their best in everything that they do. In short, the way you manage your stress, it all depends on you. It all depends on how you accept and how you embrace that kind of change that you experience. Okay, so for today is we will try to embrace what are the two types of stress. There are two types of stress. We have the eustress and the distress. So when you talk about the positive stress, it is called the eustress. Eustress is a positive connotations of stress. Kaya usahay ba kung mo-graduate na ka, di ba? Pag college, grabe imong stress. But when you graduate, lami kayo ang feeling. So that's the positive effect of stress. We need stress because it pushes us to do something more. Pareha karon lisod kay mo eskwela na stress na ka sa imong assignments, sa imong module, whatever, but still you are doing your best, meaning you are still embracing the idea of positive stress because you are doing your best. So that's the idea of stress, the eustress, the positive stress. Despite na kay problema, but you are still doing the best that you can to achieve your dreams. Mahimo lang siyang negative stress, especially kung di nakaganahan mo trabaho ana, especially kung ning give up na ka, especially kung tan-aw nimo di na nimo kaya, possibly you experience that negative feeling nga nakaapekto sa imuha. And that is what you call the distress. Okay, you are distressed if you don't know how to manage your stress, ikapoy na ka. Kung tan-aw nimo nahadlok na ka, you are so worried, you are so anxious, wala pa gani nimo gibuhat ang imong best, wala na kaning buhat. Okay? Posible imong giunahuna na nga stress as a negative effect sa imuha. You are not thinking it in a positive way, you are thinking it in a negative way. That's why you are affected. Okay? So that's the two types of stress nga giingon nila, the eustress and the distress. Take note that whatever stresses nga inyo na atong na-experience, okay, naana siya positive and negative effects sa ato ang kaugalingon or sa ato ang pagtanaw sa atong kaugalingon. Take note, di ba, ang eustress is a positive effect? Eustress causes much less damage compared to distress. Kay positive man ang eustress, so dili kay siya ingana kadako og effect sa atoa. Dili kay siya dako og damage sa ato ang pagtan-aw sa atong kaugalingon kay positive man siya, nindot man. But when you talk about the distress, an extreme amount of stress, especially distress, dako kay na siya epekto pod sa ato ang pagtan-aw sa atong kaugalingon. Especially kung grabe kay kamo mukuan sa imong kaugalingon, no? You do self-blame, you do self-criticism, right? Usahay ma-affected ka, and that's how you feel stressed out. And that's how you see yourself nga, bati man day akong kinabuhi, or bati man day ko, ngano maging, ngano pa man, okay? Ngano maning kamot pa man ko, nga bati pa man ko. That is self-criticism. Do not do that to yourself. You will be stressed out. Okay? So, take note that when you talk about stress, natay gitawag the general stress syndrome. Okay? So when you talk about the general stress syndrome, there are three components. Na siya tulo ka components ang general stress syndrome. The first one is when we experience stress, unsay mahitabo sa atong lawas. Okay? So first ko no, when we experience stress is we feel alarmed. The first step is the alarm stage. Okay? Kaya bang ma-alarma ka ba? Uy, naay problema. So you feel alarmed. Kaya ning alarma naman ka, it's either bingon ka, uy, di ko ana. Diha na, our body produces unsa man, the fight and the flight response. Right? Kung naay problema, usahay, kung naay nagpadunga problema, usahay mo atras ka, mo flight ka, or kung naay padunga problema, you will fight for it. Okay? So for example, naay gihatag inyong instructor nga grabe kalisod nga assignment. Ipahimo kag video tapos di man ka maayo mo imong video, right? Weakness nimo na you are not dili kay ka maayo sa technology. So na-stress ka. So duha ra kung imuhang padulngan ana, kung na-stress ka, it's either you will try or you will not try. It's either mo submit ka or di ka mo submit. It's the same idea with the fight or the flight. Right? Musukol ka, mo try ka, or mo atras ka nga di na ka. So magpahagbong na lang ka. Right? So katong gipabuhat yung instructor, you feel alarmed. That's why you need to choose. It's either you will fight or you will flight. So that's the alarm stage. The second stage is the stage of resistance. So what is this all about? Kana ako nung inig na ay problema, na kung naay problema, imong gitry nga mo adapt ka. Pero kung sige-sige na pud ang problema, ang ato dang lawas usahay mo resist. Usahay we try to wait sa. Usahay mingon ka, no, I will not do that. Kay nakatry na ko ana sa una, no. So that's the stage of resistance. Kay bawo na ka sa una nasayop ka, pag ikaduha nahitabo na sad siya, pinimingon ka dili nako because I was there. Nahitabo na nako sa una, so I will not do it again. So that's the stage of resistance. It's either nakahuna-huna na ka kung unsa imong buhaton. But according to my research, ang pagiging adaptable daw sa tao sa usa ka butang mawa daw na siya kung permanente na lang pud siya nga ma-expose anang butanga. For example, naa siya problema no, nakaibaw na siya nga sa una na problema na siya ana kay iyan ang gisudlan, pero ikaduha na pong nahitabo iya nga nagbuhat nga pud siya the same, therefore ang adaptability sa tao kuno mawala na siya. Right, kay naanad naman siya nga ana ang iyahang gibuhat. So in short, the acquired adaptation is lost if the individual is subject to still greater exposure to the stressor. Okay, kung exposed kita sa mga problema, dili na kay taing ana kalisod mo adapt sa sitwasyon because naa naman ang acceptance kay balo naman ka unsay angay buhaton. So that's the stage of resistance. And the third one is the exhaustion stage. So what do you mean by exhaustion? Kana tanaw nimo di na nimo kaya, you give up. The exhaustion. Na ay problema, mingon ka, puno na jud kay ko. That's why sa exhaustion stage, we are so lucky nga kita ko ng mga tao dili ta makaabot ani nga stage. Ngano man kay although moabot ta sa first and the second stage, kaning third stage sa general stress syndrome is dili kanina to maabtan. We don't give up easily. Dili ta dali-dali moingon nga di na nimo kaya because ang definition diri is the exhaustion stage is the body dies because it has used up all the resources. So atong lawas wala na dyan mabuhat. Okay, the body dies because it has used up all the resources nga naani mo. But kita ko no, we don't go into the exhaustion stage. So we are so lucky nga makabangon jud gihapon ang tao. Okay? Despite na ay problema. Okay, so let's talk about kung daghan kuno kay tag stress if we acquire an extreme amount of stress, diha na ang mga sakit no na atay gitawag nga the stress diseases. Kay nga nang mo-occur man na ang stress diseases. So ang stress diseases, mo-occur lang na siya if there is an error sa ato ang gitawag nga general stress syndrome. Katong tulo ba? Okay? Kung naalang ko ni sayop nga pag-interpret nato sa mga sitwasyon, diha lang mo-occur ang gitawag nga stress diseases sa tao. Kaya di ba kung naa kay problema, daghan po kang sakit, ngano man ano. So therefore, ang problema nato makakause og sakit po sa atong kaugalingon. Okay, that's the term of stress diseases. But take note, kani kuno atong stress diseases, dili ni siya mo-occur if we know how to check and balance sa unsa ato ang sa atong kaugalingon. If our mental processes is properly checked and balanced, it will not occur ang stress diseases. Although na ay problema, pero kahibaw ka mo huna sakto imong pag-interpret sa problema, you focus on the positive, not on the negative way of thinking about things. So that's the idea, no? It will not occur unless you know how to put good interpretation and perception sa kana nga na-acquire nga problema. But the problem is, kita man kong mga tao, usahay, apil na ko, usahay kung natay problema, atong palawman, right? Kana bang induce chronically ba, atong palawman ang problema, usahay lang po, maging chronic na siya, grabe na siya, so makatrigger siya mga sakit na to. Usahay naman siya mga problema no nga it is beyond human control. Na mga problema nga di na to mapugngan. Okay? So pareha karon sa pandemic na ay daghang problema but still wala jud ni abot sa exhaustion stage. We are recovering. We are doing our best to be at our best despite the situation. Okay? So para dili ta makaabot sa gitawag nga the stress diseases. Kay daghan jud kuno kayog effect ang stress sa lawas ug sa panghunahuna sa usa ka tawo. Okay? So hopefully nasabtan nato no ang stress, how stress affects us, how can we cope up with stress. Unang usahay bitaw kung kita na atay problema, we sometimes overreact. For example, bisan dili kay nga nakagrabe ang problema ato yung palawman. Kay grabe kita mo palawm sa atong problema, manang usahay maglibog na ta. Kung unsay sakto na tong buhaton o dili saktong buhaton para sa atong kaugalingon. Managingon nila, do not decide when you are emotionally stressed. Kaya nga nang di man ko mo decide because sometimes if emotionally stressed ka or emotionally drained ka, ang ato yung decision is not good for us. Not good for the people around us. Okay? So, atong i-embrace, asa din nagikan ng stress. Okay? Giunsa di ay pagdagan, nga kaingon ka nga stress na ka. So, take note that stress begins in the brain. Diba? Grabe si Lord, no? Na atay brain. Stress begins in the brain. So ang ato daw brain, di ba, kung unsang atong makita, first nato ano is kung natay makita or natay madunggan, naatay portion sa atong brain nga yung focus ana is the emotional processing sa tao. Gitawag na siyang amygdala. So kung nakay makita, nakay madunggan, i-process na sa utok. So naay portion sa atong utok nga yung focus is for the emotional processing. Kung maka-perceive na siya nga naay danger, pagkita nimo o pagdunggan nimo naay danger, i-process na sa amygdala, and i-process niya ang katong na perceive na danger daw, i-process na po na sa hypothalamus. Kaya ang hypothalamus, according to science, siya ang gitawag nato nga the command center sa atong brain. Siya ang mulihok. Right? So again, kung natay makita, natay madunggan, kung natay ma-perceive nga danger for ourselves, ang amygdala ana ang mo-process sa atong emotion. Uy, naay danger. Kaya na may danger, i-process na po to, ang amygdala, muhatag na po information padung sa hypothalamus. Ang hypothalamus, amingon nga, uy, break sa ako kay naay danger. So siya ang command center. Nakabantay ka kung mag-drive kag sakyanan, no? Gi-compare man sa sakyanan. Kung maka-perceive ka nga naay iro nagpadung, or naay iro nga moatang sa sakyanan, di ba mo kalita kag stop? Pero kanidong pag-process sa atong brain ko no is di na to masabtan kay in just a blink of an eye, dali kay ta makalihok sa atong lawas. Kay naman tayo hypothalamus. Siya man ang command center sa atong brain. So that's how we react sa mga sitwasyon. Okay, so manausahay, careful kay ta sa ato ang emotional processing, kay mulihok jud nagdali ang atong hypothalamus, and that is called the, muna siya ang command center for our brain. Musend silag signal. Okay, so ang atong lawas daw, natin mong gitawag nga, there are two components of automatic nervous system. Di ba na atay mga voluntary and involuntary? Okay, so i-explain na nato ang science ha, para makasabuta. So there are two components of our automatic nervous system. So, naatay gitawag nga parasympathetic and sympathetic nervous system. Kung may tag sympathetic nervous system, i-compare na siya sa sakyanan. Ang ato dang lawas, assuming ha atong lawas daw is mura siya car. Ang ato hang automatic nervous system kani pag-blink sa mata, 'di ba? Automatic man di man ni maihap nimo, diretso ra man siya blink, okay? So man na siya ang sympathetic nervous system nato gitawag na siya the gas pedal in a car. 'Di ba kung ikaw na stress ka, 'di ba it's either mo fight ka or mo accelerate ka, mo fight ka sa sitwasyon. Kung mo fight na ka, gitawag na kag naa ay mohang sympathetic nervous system. Pero kung mo break ka, kung dili ka ganahan sa kana nga sitwasyon, gitawag na parasympathetic nervous system. So sa atong lawas, daghan kay tag mga involuntary muscles. Dilan ta kabantay because kay naaman ta. Pero kung imong subton or atong subtanjod, giunsa nato paglihok sa mga butang is naadjud kuno na sa ato ang brain ka function tanan. That's why ning lihok ta. That's why naatay gitawag nga automatic nervous system because sila ang mupadagan or mo stop kung mo relax na gani ka sitwasyon, you are talking about your parasympathetic nervous system. Pero kung mo fight pa gani ka, man gitawag that you have the sympathetic nervous system. Hindi pa ka mo surrender ba? So you are dealing with your sympathetic nervous system. Kung mo surrender na ka, mo stop na ka, mo relax na ka, you are dealing with your parasympathetic nervous system. So hopefully nasabta nato no na stress begins in the brain. Okay, so that's why we need to be careful on how we think, how we decide, how we interpret, and how we perceive life. Because ikaw na dyan gadalaan na, wala na ilain, no? It's all about how you manage and how you cope up and how you fight and we should know when to stop if dili na maayo. Okay, so there are a lot of techniques on how we can counter our stress or chronic stress. So number one, we have the relaxation response. So how can we counter stress? we need to relax. Diba ang uban, kabantay mo nga ang uban, kung ma-stress na sila, is mato silang bukid. They do hiking, they do biking, diba? Because it can release us ng mga stress nga na-feel sa kani nga adlaw. So we need to relax. We need to be concerned. We need to take care of ourselves. If we need to fight our level of stresses in life. Number two is we need to do physical activity. Okay? Kay di ba when you do physical activity, lami kay mong paminaw kay grabing singot. That's why a lot of people, they go running, they go exercising because that's the only way for them to cope up with the stress nga naa nato. Di ba kung mudagan kag kusog, grabe ang singot, and then you are releasing the bad energy and you are trying to absorb the positive energy in life. And then the next day, you are okay, you are doing fine. Therefore, naka-recover na ang lawas with different kinds of stresses in life. Number three is we need social support. Do you know that we need somebody to lean on, especially when we are stressed out? Dapat dili jud kuno maayo nga mag-inusara, especially if na problema na ka, you need somebody to talk to, a friend who knows how to listen, a friend nga, a family who will support you no matter what happens. We need social support para makabangon ta, para mas malig-on ta, so that we can strengthen ourselves to be better. We need other people, a good bunch of people to be with us in times of crisis. Okay, so ingon sila, para daw ma-release ang mga negative energy and stress nga atong na-experience every day is we need to stop. Okay, ingon sila, we need to stop, breathe. O, diba? Stop, breathe, and tell yourself, okay na na. Okay? And tell yourself, kaya ni nato. And tell yourself that things will fall into place as long as you are doing something good for yourself. And the second is we need to acknowledge ourselves that what we are feeling is okay. We need to say, okay na na self ha. Ayaw ka go self. Life is still good. Despite natin problema self, I know that things will fall into place at the right time, at the right place. Do not push yourself too harsh. Do not push yourself nga kailangan ako dyan yung buhaton. Stay relaxed, stop, breathe, and tell yourself it's okay. Everything it's okay. Okay, the third one is find somebody who is willing to listen. Okay? Kanang ganahan jud maminaw sa imuha. A genuine friend, kanang tinud-anay nga maminaw. Di ba nindot kayong feeling when you express your feelings to somebody nga kasaligan nimo. Okay? So, find someone who listens and accepting. Okay? Because kitang tanan, ingon pa nila, no man is an island, we need somebody. And we need somebody who are willing to listen sa tuwa. The fourth one is, despite na tayo problema, maintain your normal routine. Ayaw jud kalimtino nga tungod lang kay na kay problema, di na ka mukaon. It's a bad thing to do. Tungod lang kay na kay problema, di na ka muskwila. It's a no-no. Why? Always maintain your normal routine. Kung unsa imong routine sa una, if you do jogging, then despite na kay problema or wala, you do jogging. Always maintain that because that's the only way for us to cope up or to fight our level of stresses in life. Kabantay ka, bisan dato, mga artista, no? Kinsa pa na sila. Stress is inevitable to life. We all experience different kinds of stresses. The five is, do not push yourself too harsh. Allow plenty time for yourself. May nagingon nila ba, self-care. Know yourself, asa ka malipay, stay calm because kita tanan, we all experience stress. Do what makes you happy. So that's the idea on how we can counter the effect of stress in our body, especially in our psychological health. Okay, the last one is take good care of yourself. Do not worry too much. Do not be anxious. We just have to pray and be accepting sa sitwasyon nga naa nato. Okay? So take note nga naa po yung pinaka the best way on how we can counter stress is to be self-compassionate. So what do you mean by self-compassion? We need to be understanding with ourselves. Kung naaman tayo sa'yo, when we fail, when we suffer, when we experience a lot of mistakes, be compassionate to yourself. Take note, nobody is perfect. We all commit mistakes. Right? Kita tanan, naaman tayo mga sayop nga mabuhat sa atohang kinabuhi. And also, please don't criticize yourself too much. Kana bang, ay di man jud ko maayo anang butanga. For me, don't do that. Nga naman, for me, it has a negative effect for myself. Kumingon kung di ko ganahan sa akong self, kinsa na mali di ganahan sa kuha. Kung mismo ako'y gana sa akong self, how much more ang ubang tao. So that's the idea of self-criticism. Please don't do that to yourself. Okay? Take note nga ang mga self-compassionate nga mga tao, masayop man sila, but they don't criticize themselves. Kasabot sila nga naay mga butang nga dili nato makuha ug napoy mga gusto nato nga di nato maangkon, but still they are compassionate about themselves. They are understanding sa ilahang kaugalingon. They are accepting. Because once you are self-compassionate with yourself, kung sa'y mahitabo, you will generate positive emotions and kindness sa imong kaugalingon. So do not do self-blame, do not do self-criticism, just accept para maka-generate kag positive emotions toward yourself. Okay? Self-compassionate people recognizes that there are a lot of challenges in life. Kay baw sila nga daghan jud problema diri sa kalibutan. And kasabutod sila nga naatay mga failures, and that is part of human life. And dili jud nato ma-perfect tanan natong gusto. So that's why do not put strain to yourself. Do not be so harsh to yourself. Because stress is an experience we all share. Nobody is exempted. Okay, so when you talk about self-compassionate people and emotional well-being, take note that research showed that greater self-compassion is linked to less anxiety and depression. If you are self-compassionate, dili ka dali-dali maproblema sa imuhang kinabuhi. Dili ka dali ma-depress sa imong kinabuhi. Dili ka dali mo give up because you are self-compassionate. You know your limitations. You know that there are things that you cannot control. You are accepting towards yourself. That's why kabantay ka, mingon ka, kaluoy ni self. Kaluoy ba na ako eh? Okay, pero wala ko nag-ingon ha nga magsige lang kag kaluoy sa imong self. Naluoy ka, but you need to do better again. Dili ingon nga naluoy ka, you will stop there. Okay? Mo relax lang ka, be compassionate. Relax and think about the positive things that you have in your life para maka-generate kag nindot pa nga emotional or positive emotions sa imong kaugalingon. Okay, your self-compassion leads you to be more motivated and healthy. Nga naman, di ba, ang mga self-compassionate na tao is accepting man sila. Ay, nasayop ko, sige, ako ning usbon kay nasayop ko. You are still motivated to do something more. Or imo mo yung usbon, if tanaw ni mong sayop ka, imo mo yung usbon imong kaugalingon. And once mausab na siya, maging happy na ka. Once mausab siya, then nindot na imuhang output. So that's why being self-compassion is a good thing for us because kay baw ka nga ang atong kinabuhi is not all about the bed and roses, no? Naadyo tayo mga problema. And once you know how to accept sa kana nga problema is you will be motivated more sa imong kaugalingon. And especially you will also become psychologically healthy. Dili ka dali-dali masuko, dili ka dali-dali mo give up sa kinabuhi because you know that life is full of challenges and failures. Okay? So, let's try to compare self-compassion and self-esteem. So, according sa mga research, no, ingon sila, ang self-esteem daw is mura po siya mutaas imong self-esteem kung tan-aw nimo sa imong kaugalingon nindot. So it is linked sa ingana. Pero ang self-compassionate daw is dili nakadepende sa ako ang pagtan-aw sa akong kaugalingon. Ang self-compassionate nga tao is I am accepting sa unsay mga umaabot nga problema, or I am accepting sa mga failures nga akong ma-incur. Despite unsa pay problema sa kinabuhi, if I am self-compassionate, nindot gihapon ang ako ang emotion or akong emotional quotient sa mga sitwasyon. Okay? So dapat daw if we want to counter the effect of stress, let's all be self-compassionate sa mga sitwasyon nga atong na-encounter every day sa atong kinabuhi. So we should be in control of the stress that confront us every day. We should be in control sa problema nga atong na-encounter every day. Kay ikaw na may gadalaan na. Right? And then, when we are overwhelmed by stress, it has a negative effect sa atong health. It can be detrimental, meaning na ana joy mga tao nga nang give up na sa kinabuhi because they are overwhelmed with the stress that they have. So we need to do self-care, we need to be self-compassionate, and that's the only way for us to positively counter the effect of stress within our lives. Okay, so thank you so much for listening. I really hope that you are learning a lot from my video, especially this topic, the less stress, more care. Hopefully, this video helps you a lot on how we can deal our individual level of stresses in life. So let's not give up so easily. Let's be compassionate. Let's do something. Let's be productive. Please don't forget to subscribe to my channel. If you want to get to know more about these topics, take note to all my students. I will be teaching next semester ethics and industrial psychology. Again, I will be sharing this video to you possibly next week. Thank you so much. Bye. God bless. Thank you.